and see what the interest was,
Gotcha.
so.
I didn't have time to call you back.
Get through them?
It's a big stack. That's all right. Hardly did go well.
Darren, do you have a order of business?
Oh, yes.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. You can always use something.
Thank you.
What was that fire chief you were talking about last week? Who was that again? Wayne Williams?
Kenny Lou.
They had he was in here from Galva for 43 years, so I thought maybe that was just something I'll give it to you so you can read it.
No, no, Kenny Lou from Harper, Kansas.
Harper, there we go.
West of Wichita?
That's a Kingman, yeah.
Never been to Harper?
Never have?
No,
Wanna go tomorrow?
no. I've got stuff. Wow,
I can get you close tomorrow. We can
got
kind
end of the year stuff.
we can.
You may not be going anywhere.
It kinda sounds like Dustin was saying that. I know Russell County was salting the daylights out of the roads earlier when I came back from there.
I did in Hayes,
Or did they?
yeah.
Oh, yeah, I did see a truck this morning.
Thank you, sir.
Dean, are you ready?
Whenever you are, I got one more place to sign.
Bill, I'll have some, Bill. I'll have some.
Chairman, you skipped one.
Did I miss one too?
Yep, right there.
Like that chair better?
Much good. Who's responsible?
Okay, let's get started then. The meeting of the Board of Ellis County Commissioners will now come to order. Let's stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Much better, I like the yield.
Donna, if you could call the roll.
Commissioner Dean Hazelworth,
Present.
Commission Chair Butch Schleier,
Present.
Commission Dustin Law.
Present.
We have a quorum present.
Okay. Order of business, no changes to the order of business tonight.
Guess we have an executive session over Bill
One
Landon.
one executive session. Okay, we have no minutes for this evening. I'll need a motion for the consent agenda.
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda items A through G.
May I second that?
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 3-0. Any issues from persons not on the order of business? Looks okay. Monthly financial reports. You guys review everything you needed to?
Fine.
Okay. Okay, virus update. Jason?
Good evening, Commissioners. Jason Kennedy, Ellis County Health Services Director. So tonight, we actually have what is maybe the first bright spot in COVID in around 9 months. We actually have a EUA-authorized vaccine for COVID. We'll talk about that in a little bit. We have some wastewater testing stuff to talk about, cases and numbers, and then hospital capacity. So we'll start with the vaccine. I will be very honest. We, local public health departments, have not been involved in a lot of this staging or plan up to this point. We do know that obviously the Pfizer vaccine is in Kansas and was given today for the first time in Kansas. So we do believe that sometime this week there will be Pfizer vaccine in the community. It will be prioritized for frontline healthcare workers, hospital staff. So hospital staff will really be the only ones in the first run with the Pfizer vaccine. There's a couple of issues with that, or there's a couple of nuances to that vaccine that make it really difficult for general public distribution. So one of them is the temperatures it needs to be stored at, and then also the way it needs to be mixed and put together to actually be given. So that will be prioritized for frontline healthcare workers, hospital staff. Moderna is actually going to go for EUA authorization, they believe on the 17th, so a couple days from now. That vaccine will likely see itself in Kansas on or after around the 22nd. That vaccine will be prioritized more for our EMS personnel, other frontline workers that are dealing with COVID response. So right now, the indications that we've gotten from the state is that Kansas will receive around 24 to 25,000 doses of the Pfizer vaccine, and then around the 22nd, maybe 16,000 of the Moderna. Those numbers obviously don't go far when you look at the population of Kansas. However, it is a bright spot that it is moving forward. So I don't have a ton more information on that besides people just need to, honestly, they need to educate themselves. They need to don't listen to the information that you get off C-SPAN, and don't listen to the information off Fox News. Actually go do the research yourself. Determine whether the vaccine is good for you. Work with your healthcare, your primary health. Work with your doctor. Use their recommendation. I've said from the start we've got great doctors in this community. Let's let doctors be doctors. Talk to them. See what they think is the best recommendation for you. I don't likely think that we'll see widespread distribution of any vaccine to the general public until maybe March, April, somewhere around in that time frame. So people have time to go out and look. Two things with the vaccine. There is the CDC has a vaccine finder website. There is currently no one in Ellis County signed up on that website. Don't panic. There will be. It's part of the program. Anyone that will be authorized to give the COVID-19 vaccines will have to be signed up on the vaccine finder website. So people will be able to go to that website, see what provider or where in the community they can go get the vaccine. So we have a few months here before widespread distribution. The first couple of runs will be for healthcare workers, especially hospitalized, long-term care residents. Then it goes down to EMS, public health, that type of stuff, and then we continue to work down the line through the CDC priorities until we get to the widespread distribution.
Jason, before I forget, when you talk about prioritizing who gets it, something that comes to mind is most of the healthcare people that I know that work out at Hayes Med have all had the coronavirus. Do you move back on prioritization if you've already contracted COVID-19, or how does that work?
I believe, and I would have to check for sure, but I believe if you've had COVID there's no contraindications for those who have had COVID-19, but maybe recommendations to wait closer to 90 days after the illness. So again, that's going to be something we're so early in this vaccination process. Obviously, the Moderna vaccine isn't even authorized for use yet, so we don't know what the contraindications for that vaccine would be.
Okay.
So that's again another question. Talk to your doctor. They're the ones that are really gonna know this stuff. So if you have concerns or you have questions, access the information for yourself. Call your doctor, talk to your primary care physician, let them determine that. But there is currently no, at least for the Pfizer vaccine, no contraindications, but they do want you to wait a time period after your infection.
Okay.
The case numbers. So obviously, or honestly, this is maybe somewhat of a bright spot in that our case numbers have been decreasing in Ellis County. Our hospitalizations have come down from a peak of around 18 today. Actually, by the time I came down here, we were at 13 active hospitalizations. So we do see our case numbers decreasing in Ellis County. We see our numbers of tests decreasing as well. We've talked before, more tests, more cases, percent of positive figures into that, less tests, less cases. But our percent of positive is decreasing as well. So our cases are decreasing, our percent of positives are decreasing. Our hospitalizations of Ellis County residents is decreasing some, marginally. We still do have, obviously, 13 Ellis County residents that are hospitalized. And then they have a significant number of individuals from their catchment area that were transferred into the hospital. So hospital capacity is an issue. It will always be an issue, but they are not at crisis capacity. They are not giving crisis care in the parking lot. If you're sick, if you need care, go to the hospital. You can go to the ED. You can get treatment. You can get a room if need be. They will find places to treat the critically ill, but hospital capacity will be a day-by-day process as we work through the rest of the winter. Flu season really still isn't here yet in Ellis County. Our flu numbers are extremely low. As we see those go up, we'll continue to see hospital capacity issues really throughout. The hospital will be closed at certain points to outside transfers, and they'll be open the next day, and then they might be closed the day after that. So it will be a constant process as we work our way through the winter. This vaccine will help. A large amount of our hospitalized patients and almost all of our mortality in Ellis County has come from the long-term care residents. As we get vaccinations into the long-term care facilities, it will help with both hospitalizations and mortality. Mortality being the significant number that we focus on as far as the impacts that you can't turn back. So as we get some of this stuff out, there are some bright spots there. Wastewater testing. So we've been working with actually Mr. Crispin, the director for the City of Hayes Water Resource Department. They started doing wastewater testing actually several months back. We finally got enough data that we can start using it to actually have kind of a different picture of what's going on in the community. Not the picture most of us want to see, because it's obviously the picture of the toilet and the COVID going down it, but it's a different picture, a different snapshot of what's going on in our community. We have actually seen a leveling off of our case rates as far as the wastewater is showing us. We do still have fairly high levels of COVID, but we have seen a reduction or a leveling off. The best thing about, or the neatest thing about this testing platform is it really removes the human element out of the case numbers, because testing doesn't change this. It is literally just what you are excreting. Is the virus there? Is the virus not there? So it's kind of a different snapshot, and it's neat to see that it truly has coincided, at least over the last 2 or 3 months, with what our visible case rate is. This is the invisible case rate. Now, we still don't know. You can't look at this number and say, oh, there's 200 people infected in Ellis County. We don't know that number. We just look at trends and we just say, okay, it's up, it's down, it's really across the board. So it's kind of neat stuff. City of Hayes started doing it quite a while back with KDHE, and we're really starting to be able to get some of that data and use it. We talked about the hospital capacity already, cases and numbers. So do you guys have any questions for me tonight?
I don't have any questions. Dean? Dustin?
Just one. I've got a question about the amount of case rate that we've had. I've read a few studies from Johns Hopkins about how we're probably only catching about 1/5, maybe 1/6 of the actual cases that have existed in given communities. When you do the math on that in Ellis County, it means nearly half of us have had it. Is that, I know that we're kind of new to the big surge, and so I wonder if that's more coastal, where they've had it around for quite a bit longer than we have, or is that somewhat good news too, that maybe we're getting a lot of asymptomatic case load?
So I'll be honest, I don't put a ton of stock in these mathematical models. They've been wrong from the start. They've been wrong from day one. And so again, a lot of that data is based on kind of some mathematical modeling and some projection data. There is a number that we can maybe use to kind of see, and that is actually the Red Crosses, which put a plug in for the Red Cross. Oh, and EMS, by the way. If you're going to go donate blood, vote for EMS. But it's the Red Cross has been doing antibody testing on all of their people, and they're finding about 10% of people out in our area actually had COVID. The antibody testing early on wasn't a phenomenal test, but it actually has come a long way. I do think it's a fairly good indicator, because I've seen numbers from the CDC that say we're only catching maybe take your number times 10. Well, that means all of Ellis County has been impacted. So we've got a number somewhere from a fifth to 10 times to, and so what we do know is that we have had 22,000 some cases that we've actively found infected with PCR testing. We do know that the antibody testing data is showing around 10 to 12% of the population. And we do know that no matter what number we look at, we still have a large amount of the population that hasn't had COVID. And so as we look at that, we still need people to make good choices, even as the vaccine comes out. It's going to be 3, 4, 5 months before we can get a large enough amount of the population, and that's if people accept it, to get to the point where we have that herd immunity number. So as we go through the winter months, as we look and we push forward with still maintaining whatever normalcy we have left, people still need to take those best public health measures. They need to wear their mask, wash their hands, do not gather in groups, just period. And, just avoid that stuff, and live as normal of a COVID-safe life as you possibly can as we kind of move through this and we figure out what the vaccine does, how big of an impact it makes, and what we continue to learn about this virus.
So every indication I've gotten is from these vaccines is really good indication of through the blind test that you have 5 to 6 times the amount of antibodies in your body as if you were infected with COVID-19 from some of these, which they think maybe will get you quite a few years of immunity from COVID-19, which hopefully at some point allows us to get a long enough time frame for a majority of society that we can really knock this out the way we do similar other diseases. But as we look forward, I guess it's above my pay grade, and there's probably people in the Pentagon who have thought about this more in lines than I have. But the idea that maybe you see if you did have COVID-19 before you're the first one to sign up for this, and if you had a severe case of it, you probably have an extended period of time that you don't necessarily need vaccinated because you probably won't be reinfected. From what I read, in the entire world, only a handful of reinfection rates now that we're, about a year into knowing of the existence of COVID-19 in the human race.
Yeah, it's, durable immunity is going to be the question. Durable immunity, whether you build it from actually having the virus or whether you build it from the vaccine, how long is that immunity? What does that immunity look like? That's a number we don't have with COVID-19. We have it with standard coronaviruses, but we don't have it with COVID-19. And so it right now, as with the entire pandemic, individuals need to make the choices for themselves. They need to make the best choice that makes sense for their medical condition or whatever they have. They need to work with their primary care physicians. We have a phenomenal medical community here. Call your doctor. Talk to your doctor. Get on the EUA authorization, the FDA EUA authorization. Read the data about it. Don't take the national news media's word for it. Not that they're wrong. I'm not hammering on them, but it really is. You need to go out and get that information yourself and make a good informed decision for yourself.
I think you're making a good point there. It's kind of common sense. I would much rather my father-in-law get one of the early vaccines than me because of his risk factor. And so, I think we think about that throughout all of society, and that's why we're prioritizing those at risk.
Vaccines in the U.S. are overwhelmingly safe. They just are. The vaccines that we give across the board are safe. The testing, the safety data, the steps that they have to go through. There's a lot of fear, there's a lot of apprehension, there's a lot of angst surrounding COVID, period. It doesn't matter what point of COVID you look at. Is it the actual virus? Is it the hospitalization? Is it the outcome? Is it the vaccine? Is it the social controls? Is it whatever? There's fear and angst surrounding all of it. Mm-hmm. Make an informed decision. Research the data. Look at it, and see if it makes a good. See if it's reasonable for you. See if it works for you with your medical condition. But I think all in all, the vaccines in this country are very safe, and so I feel that this one will be very similar.
Very good. I know this is out of your realm. It's out of the realm of the scientists. I know there's some ethical concerns on them too, but For people that are worried about that, I know that even just a short delay, there are vaccines that don't have that ethical concern attached to them. Do your own research and make a decision for yourself as far as that goes.
All right.
Thanks, Jason.
Thank you, Jason.
Thanks, guys.
IT intern, Mike.
Good evening, Commissioners. Mike Leiker, IT Director. I'm presenting to you tonight just to let you know that we are again going to participate in the Fort Hays State University Hansen Foundation Internship Program. We did this last year. It was very successful for us. We had an individual who was very helpful in our department. So we have opted to participate in that again. Again, to remind you, it's very little cost to the county. It's a $500 one-time fee paid to Fort Hays. And then all of the interns' salary and any HR things are all handled through Fort Hays State. So they've worked with me on the interview process. We've interviewed and we've selected an individual. His name is Sangam Chatakuli, and he will be starting in January 19th. So I just want to let you all know that like last year, we're gonna participate in that again this year. So I'm really excited about it.
Mike, how many hours a week does an intern work for you?
They can get up to 20 hours a week for a maximum of, I believe it's 240 hours per semester.
Okay.
We'll work with them, we want to make sure they get their schoolwork done and everything. So up to 20 hours, and if they can handle that load, we'll keep them busy. So, he'll go through the end of the semester. I believe he's graduating in May, so we'll try and keep participating in this program as long as we can, because it really works out well for us. So
And it seems to be a good program for the community as well as Fort Hays, the students.
I think so. I think
Yeah,
that,
I can speak to that. I've had a couple of interns through this organization. It worked out great. You know, they're kids that you get to kind of apply to a task, and they get some real world experience. It's a wonderful thing. I'm happy we were selected in Ellis County. It sounds like the only issue is going to be pronouncing a name. That'd be the only
he goes
tough
by
part.
Sam, so
Okay,
he made it
perfect.
easy for me.
Okay.
So, yeah. All right. Thank
Thank
you.
you, Mike. Okay, end of year transfers, Darren.
Evening, Commissioners. Darren Myers, Interim County Administrator. Tonight is that time of year to discuss the end-of-year transfers per budget policy. As the Commission is aware, our budget policy states that towards the end of the year, we try to project what the total end-of-year budget expenses are for each department, and then with that, the remaining funds, the departments can collect 50% of those funds and transfer it over to their equipment reserve fee or fund. This year, as you can see within your packet, that's about $972,000 that we were able to identify and to put back into capital reserves. Those capital reserves pay for graders, ambulances, large capital purchases, pickups, etc., that may be needed. Just to kind of expand onto that a little bit, just the status of Ellis County as 2020 comes to a close, we look at our funds, and Commissioner Rhodes had asked me earlier just exactly where we are at for revenues and expenditures for the year, so I just threw together some numbers in advance, but currently, if we take that other $972,000 that's part of this transfer, you add that on to some of the other expenses that were under, we saved about $90,000 that's left in contingency account, and then when we restructured the pay this year for the pay raises, that left us about $840,000 in our budget stabilization account. And then if you also add into our revenues, it was actually a good year for the county as well. We were actually just over expected budgeted revenues by just under 900,000. So if you add all of those in together and look at where we're at for end of year, that's about $2.8 million that will basically be able to roll over into the unencumbered cash for next year. Those are rough estimates at this point. Those aren't hard, solid numbers, but that's just a good projection of where we're sitting. So I know when we always discuss COVID, there's always the negative impacts of how it's impacting us, but I think this year it's had some positive impacts on our budget as well. Expenditures are down for many different reasons. Revenues are up for different reasons, but I thought I would just add on to that when we start talking about being able to not only put money back in the bank for future projects, but also keep money in the bank for the general fund coming into the future for some other large projects that we have coming up. So with that, I'd stand for any questions in regards to any of that.
Commissioner Hazelhorst, any questions?
I have none. Same things we kind of do every year, so
Yeah.
our department heads do a good job of that, of transferring it back over. It's always worked really well.
Commissioner Ross?
No, it's great news. I'd love to see a news article that said Ellis County is $2.8 million ahead of their budget for this year. I'd wonder if that'll happen. That's it.
Okay.
We just need a motion for the commission, which is on your sheet, so that way when the audit, these transfers won't actually get made until basically right before we close the year end and the audit is reviewed and they've accepted the numbers, so that way we can post them at that date.
Okay. Do I hear a motion, gentlemen?
Dustin's got his right there.
I move the commission authorize the county administrator to make the 2020 year-end transfers as listed on the attachment.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 3-0.
Good news as always.
Yes. Okay, CARES Fund. Darren?
So where we're at with the CARES funds, as the commission knows, we have to have the money 100% expended by December 30th of this year. If not, any of the remaining funds has to be sent back to the state. So I just wanted to touch base since we have tonight's meeting and then this coming Monday's meeting is the final two for the commission to meet to be able to give any further direction on any remaining funds. At this point, I have identified, I won't go down to the exact penny, but just under $65,000 in funds that are either are being returned to us or we've not sent out because the agencies, they actually turned it down. They turned it down for the reasoning that as one agency had the funding, but they received funding from us, the county, but they also received money from the second phase of CARES money from the state. And fortunate for us, when they started charging all of their COVID-related bills, invoices, expenses, they charged it to the state money. And it got to the point where they expended everything they could out of the state money, and they didn't charge as much to ours. So they have no reason to be able, or no way to be able to charge anything else to theirs. So they are returning part of the money they've already received, and then they decline their second payment to them. So that adds up to about $65,000. So with that, the commission has stated several times over the last couple of months that if we had any remaining funds, anybody needs to reach out to the county and express that interest. To date, I've had 4. And, 4. So before I get to that, I briefly explained to the commission today that part of that money is returned to us by a check. The problem with that and being able to reallocate that right now is the fact that if we don't receive that money until January 2nd, we can't spend it. So I would not suggest that we tell a business or an agency, we have this money. If we get the money, we would give it to you. That way they get their hopes up, et cetera. The other remaining money of approximately $47,000 is what we should allocate out to these remaining agencies. Those 4 are Holy Family Elementary for $900 to buy some chargers for their Chromebooks. Thomas More Prep Marion for roughly $37,833 to fund many projects, loss of revenues from sporting events, official fees at their sporting events, increased transportation costs for social distancing during transportation of sporting events, and then some technology for their digital art classes. The third one, that was a request to receive funding. They didn't request a certain amount. They just requested that anything that the commission could do would be a benefit to them was top-notch for a loss of revenue. Top-notch cleaners, sorry. And then the final one was a business that received funds at the beginning of the CARES funding allocation of just about $38,000 was Days Inn. So what I would like direction from the commission is if the commission is in agreeance that we do not allocate that $17,000 since we don't know if we will receive it. The first part is to discuss that $47,000 that's remaining and how the commission would like to split that up with those 3 or 4 or 2, none, or how you would like to proceed with that.
And you said Family Elementary requested how much? Holy Family?
900,
900, and how much did TMP request?
37.8.
37,833.
And Top Notch just wants something.
Correct. They said whatever we could give them, that total amount that we have is still not enough to cover the amount of losses that they've had this year.
I mean, I guess I look at Days Inn a little bit as that's a corporate.
Yeah, I think
Correct.
it's locally owned, but I do struggle with them since they've already had a round of funding. You know, one of the problems with the CARES Act funding from my perspective is that, you know, the free market aspect of our economy kind of got thrown out the window for about 8, 10, who knows how long, months, because we threw money out into these for-profit organizations and didn't make them compete. Right now, I think Days Inn needs to work on getting people to stay at Days Inn and not work on trying to get more money from CARES Act funding. In whatever way they need to do that, they're the ones that are in that business, not me. So I think that I wouldn't mind a little bit for top-notch cleaners. I imagine that has hit them. You know, but I would be 100% in favor of the full amount to TMP and to Holy Family. Those parochial schools don't get much of any funding and do a lot of benefit and run pretty dime budgets on almost everything. So I'd be in favor of that funding. One other thing that came to mind to me, and maybe this is something you could reach out on, Darren, is we had no requests from the Northwest Kansas area area agency on aging. And
We did.
Did we? Oh, how much was that?
I don't have the numbers memorized, but
Yeah, see if you can check that
It's
out.
like 3,000 or 4,000 or something.
Maybe it was just lower than I expected.
they received $69,781.
Oh, okay, so they were,
They did okay.
okay. That was just one I was concerned about not getting. It must have been in all the nonprofit stuff that went through then, huh?
Yeah, it was
Okay.
project number 59, so we received it about halfway through the application process.
Okay.
So if we fund top-notch cleaners X amount of dollars, that would need to come out of the TMP funding, or would that need to come out of that 17,000 that we may get?
If you give Holy Family their complete request and TMP their complete request, that would leave just under, that would leave $8,975.49 that you could allocate to Top Notch.
8,900 and what?
$8,975.49.
Thank you.
And I guess before maybe a decision's made there, I can talk about that other 17,000 just for food for thought on that. Since, you know, we do get that money back eventually, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's coming to us. So if we get it December 31st or after, because it's coming from a national corporation out of, it's either North Carolina or North Dakota. So we may not get it in time. If we don't, we basically deposit, we have to write the state back that check. And I'm working on with them to hopefully get it, just don't know when. But if we do get it, I had the request from the county fire department and officers meeting that they could potentially, that the commission could potentially approve to use that fund to buy a second SCBA mask for their breathing apparatus. What that does is, it is COVID related because it's something that you're actually using for many different instances, not just a structure fire. But the way they have to do it now is you put that on, and you can imagine you're sweating, you're hacking, you're breathing into that respirator. If somebody else has to go in right back after it, they have to basically take that mask off one person and put it on the next. So a second mask would benefit them. So that was just an idea that if we had the money and we had to spend it at the very last minute, that's an idea that I checked with the vendor that they could get it ordered and to us quickly.
How much do those cost?
A few pennies under $780 a piece, and we have 38 air packs. The total cost to do that would be just about $29,610. That would not be enough money with that check. The year for the fire budget as well has been also under because we haven't been able to train as much, go out for training and meetings and such. Fire calls have been down, so there is budget authority left to cover the distance or difference between that check and what the total amount would be to buy one for each SCBA bottle.
So you would need about $12,000 more to cover that.
Correct,
If
about
we got that check.
$12,400 or $500.
If we got that check.
Correct.
And Top Notch has confirmed that if we were able to award that $8,900, that they have a loss of income that is above that, and they wouldn't need to have any refund back to us.
Yeah, we could allocate that whole $47,000 to them, and they could document it, that they had that much loss in revenue, so
Wow, okay.
anything above that $9,000, they would, she said they would also be greatly appreciative for, but I just couldn't speak to her of what the commission would do tonight
Okay.
and what amount they would receive, if they would receive anything.
I tell you, the SCBA masks sound really good to me. I think that it could be extremely important to our fire units in terms of not spreading it amongst each other if they happen to go on calls together. And as we've been talking this whole way, deferred expenses to the county seem to be a good way to make sure that at least Ellis County taxpayers aren't hit in the future with expenses. It's why we bought an ambulance. It's why we did the dispatch. I think this is another great call, and I think all around, I don't know that I would want our firefighters, if we didn't have to do it for finance purposes, to ever have to throw each other's masks on to run into things, COVID or not. There's all kinds of problems I think you could have with breathing on each other's air and throwing each other's stuff from each other's faces on. So,
Yeah, I was telling Darren earlier, I think that'd be a really good expenditure if we could get her
Yeah.
done.
So can you pursue that on the other end a little bit, see how they're coming on writing a check?
yeah, who do we got to call?
No pressure.
So, yeah, I called up there and they said they're working on it. It's one of those things where you talk to one office locally where I got put up to their grants administrator saying that they have to give us the money back. I had to send an invoice them to another department for them to approve the check for another department to send us the check. So there's no guarantees. It will be very,
Follow up that on the near future.
I
know you haven't received it yet.
I did on Friday just to make sure they've received everything, and they said it's in the processing period, so.
And this is through Good Samaritan.
Correct. It's the
They're
Good Samaritan Centers
corporate?
in Hayes and Ellis, their corporate headquarters.
Okay. I figured it was both Good Samaritans then, so you can't get a hold of probably anybody locally that would be able to help much. It's got to go to that corporate office.
And it was their grants administration department, so I'm imagining, I don't know how many agencies they have that they're dealing with, but they must have got some good CARES money to help expend all that.
Okay.
Well, you're going to have to call them and tell them you're a firefighter and you're not. You could really use the money, so see what we can get from them.
Okay, so Commissioner Roth, you would like to see Holy Family and TMP get the amounts they request and the leftover go to Top Notch. Commissioner Hazelhorst?
I'm fine with that.
Yeah, I'm fine with that too, Darren. So I guess proceed with that.
The only unspent balance, just so the commission is somewhat aware, the courts is potentially having to buy another camera for their live video feeds and some plexiglass. So that's really the only $2,500 is what we're looking at. The only expense that we haven't paid out yet towards county departments really is the funding for the health department for contact tracers, the administrative assistant for the admin office to help manage the CARES funds, and then the assistant EMS director that was used for CARES funds. So we can't do those until after payroll is complete tomorrow. So later this week, we'll know those exact figures.
Okay.
And then we'll be able to take any remaining money after all these projects are done and then transfer those to those departments to reimburse those COVID-related salaries, expenses.
Okay.
So hopefully, I don't come back next week and say we got another amount of money, but this should wrap it up.
Okay.
Sounds like a plan.
Great, thank you, Darren.
Okay, County Administrator report. Darren?
Just two quick questions. The first one is, we got the annual bill for NACO, National Association of Counties, and just under $600. Just wanted to make sure the commission's intent is to continue that membership next year.
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah, I think so.
And then the second, I'll pass it along, is a thank you letter from the Northwest Kansas Community Corrections, and they're regarding the amount of funds that the commission gave them late last month to help purchase some cleaning equipment and their drug testing kits.
Okay. Okay, County Commission reports. Dustin?
I don't think I have anything for today. Just, I guess, a few announcements. We do have the stuff for Downtown Hayes coming up here this week. It'll be on the weekend, potential drawing, and we have, I believe it's Frost Fest Parade, but minus the crowds. You're not supposed to come to the parade. And that drawing is going to be done on it's going to be done on a live thing. So if you get drawn for the $2,000 in downtown cash, that's how that's going to work. It should be a good thing. I will say that this year, because of everything that I have going on in my life with my couple businesses and things like that, I just had my last meeting as a member of the Downtown Hayes Development Corporation. I want to thank them for I don't know, 6 years now that I've been there. I was a board president, past president, vice president. I was actually the president when the pavilion went up down there. I can't thank them enough for all that they do for all of our small businesses and for downtown as a whole, and the quality of life that they offer. And they've been there for us 100% through this COVID mess. If I can say one thing, this is the year. All that money is saved by not being able to go on vacation or things like that. No matter what businesses you try to support, try to think about supporting small businesses, because there are some that are really struggling. I've heard somewhere between 15 and 25% of small businesses will not make it out of the end of COVID-19. So all the rest of us, hopefully, all the businesses that I am involved in or own feel extremely blessed, and hopefully we continue to feel that blessing. But I know that that's not there for everybody, and I want everybody to actively think about how they're spending money on Christmas gifts or what they're doing. And I will say, from a personal standpoint, it's much better for you to just support us and not tell us how to run our businesses. Part of the reason why we like being small business owners is because we like running our businesses, and I promise, however many years we may have, we spent every waking moment thinking about those businesses. So your helpful suggestions usually come off more as though you don't necessarily care about our success, and more that you are trying to tell us what to do or tell us how to run our businesses. We all try as hard as we can, some more than others, and I think you can see that in the businesses, but something to keep in mind this Christmas. So
Okay, thank you,
that's it for
Dustin.
me.
Commissioner Hazelhorst?
I really don't have anything. I did go to the Hilton Garden Grand Inn opening or Friday night. I did go to that, but other than that, I have nothing.
Okay, and I have no report either. Executive session.
I move that the Board of County Commissioners recess into executive session under the following exemption of the Kansas Open Meetings Act pursuant to the non-elected personnel matter exemption. To be discussed is the Public Works Director position. Those attending will be 3 commissioners, Bill Ring, Bill Jeter, and Darren Meyer.
For how long?
15 or
20 minutes.
20 minutes.
Yeah, 20 minutes.
6:05. I second that.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 3-0.
Can we talk about my little subject, or do you want me to wait till next week?
What subject?
About townships, about the townships. I'm sorry, I should have done it under other, or not on the agenda.
Yeah, we can do that now.
Do it and bill them out on it.
We can do that now.
Oh, yeah, we gotta work on this.
Okay, yeah, Donna, you want to visit about townships?
Okay, you had no action?
Oh, no
No
action.
action.
No action.
Yes, if I may. Just real quick. Been trying, my staff has been trying, we've been trying to get a hold of people to take these offices of election, which have been trustee and treasurer. And I'm just asking, I had handed to you that we did have 4 that we could appoint. 4 that we could appoint, and I wondered if I could have your okay to go forward with those and sent those out. We did speak about that I go down, the next group that had the higher number of votes. So I'd like that authority. I did have someone who was the clerk in Big Creek Township resign last week. So I wondered if you would let me just contact the next in line who received votes, write-in votes at the November election, and then I'll come back next week and let you see what I find out, if we can fill those
Hey,
positions.
Don, I got a vote. Am I eligible?
Well, would you like it?
No, thank you.
Hey, lots of no's, it just,
Heard up.
yeah, if you can give me the authority just to continue and go forward with that, I
I think
appreciate
it's
it.
fine with me.
Yeah, it looks good,
Don't
Donna.
matter to me, Eddie.
Yep, continue.
We're not quite done, so I do appreciate that. Thank you much.
Thank you, Donna. And I believe he has that announcement about Public Works Director.
Oh,
News isn't around, but the millions at home watching us on YouTube will know we got a Public Works Director.
I didn't have anything, I have the press release ready to send out afterwards. I just figured the commission could make a statement, and based on our discussion, I'll amend that, the start date, transition date a little bit, but other than that, I didn't really have anything formal. I'll just send out a press release.
I'm just making an announcement that,
Yeah.
yeah.
So it's okay for
and,
Barb. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
and Ellis County did hire a new Public Works Director. His name is Brendan McKay, currently Public Works Director in Lincoln County. And he'll be starting with us on January 4th. So we look forward to bringing Brenda on, working with Bill, and getting his feet under him.
Awesome.
Okay, and the meeting will be adjourned at 6:12.
Thank you.